Hey everyone, hope everyone's having a great week trading. Thought I'd give a little bit of an update. It's been a while since my last video, but still in the market obviously, and a lot of good things are happening. And this week over the last couple months, where I know me and many other people that have dug themselves out of that hole that we had last Christmas Eve. So, kind of my performance over the last year so far, I kind of see that ditch I was in under $8,000, kind of getting out of that, and doing pretty well as of recently. But overall, the market has been trending flat. You can kind of see my 3-month chart there. So hopefully a lot of good things coming up, especially this week with earnings and ones that companies that did report last week as well and are still gonna report for next. Potential for a Fed cut tomorrow from Jerome Powell. Some people are saying 25 or 50 point basis cut to the interest rate. So we'll see. Others say that might be status quo. So might juice the market a little bit if we get a cut, but we'll see what happens. U.S.-China trade agreement still not hammered out. So definitely think if those two things can be figured out and more consistent, this market can really escalate and keep going. So just kind of go through my positions a little bit, what's changed, and I'll take it from there. So going into my options, I did have a $70 CGC call, Canopy Growth, which did expire out of the money last week. So didn't put too much into it, $200, but bought that call around, I want to say earlier this year when it was still around $50. Thought that the potential for $70 wasn't unrealistic, so didn't materialize that way. And over the last couple months, we've actually been in a bear market for wheat stocks, as I'll show you in MJ here. So Canopy, a lot of these big holdings are in this ETF, and you guys can kind of see over the last 3 months it is in a bear market, and has dipped since its highs earlier this March here. So that's MG for you, but still holding for the long term. But in terms of calls here, got a Hexo call. So they're partnering with Molson Coors on working on a cannabis beverage drink in Canada. So put a little premium, not too big of a premium here, about $40 into it. So see what happens there. November expiration date. Hopefully it can soar, and hopefully this whole market can get out of the bear market we're in. So going on to Aurora here, down on this, but it's a long-term dated call, so still got over a year and a half to go. See how that materializes, as well as Afria here. So down currently on my options, but we'll see what happens over the next couple months and year in terms of the market and regulation, and just getting a clearer picture on a lot of things. So definitely the industry is moving along, and probably not as fast as people have wanted. That's why a lot of things have sold off, been overvalued, and that's where we are. So moving on to stocks right now. So got my QQQ, 15 shares, biggest position so far in my Robinhood. So tech has really done well. Like I said, kind of like my portfolio, been slightly above flat over the last 3 months, but really dug itself out of that hole last Christmas Eve. So great long-term core holding in your portfolio. 0.20% expense ratio. Definitely recommend it for you guys, whether it's in here or a IRA or whatever it may be. So up over 14% on that, but comprises 26% of my portfolio. So big amount there. MJ, like I mentioned, still up over this. Still feel I bought at a great entry point last December, and I wouldn't buy mine more in the future as well. So that's where my head is at. I think this market is definitely going to continue to grow, especially as more states legalize and federally it becomes a lot of decriminalization, decriminalizing the drug and possession, and expunging people's criminal records. So a lot of good things might happen in the next couple months. So we'll see if we can get out of this bear market here. Moving on to Costco, which has really soared, probably one of my best performers since last put out a video. But over the last 3 months, up almost 14% over the last year, doing really well. And long term, I love the store, go there pretty frequently. Pays a small dividend. Might potentially pay out a special dividend as well, as they have done in the past. But It's definitely become a bigger part of my portfolio recently. So, I feel it's still fairly valued, but a high grower, a lot of good got a lot of good things happening to Costco in the future, I feel. Moving on to Planet, it's actually been pretty flat and hasn't been too crazy over the last 3 months, surprisingly, like the rest of the market. But I feel like it's kind of reaching a fair valuation where you can buy long term, and I feel that it's a fast growing company. If you want to get in it, I would get in it anytime now before earnings. I think they're going to crush it, so we'll see what happens. Still got 10 shares of it, probably my best ROI wise investment in this portfolio. So Planet Fitness there for you. Berkshire Hathaway just kind of keeping steady, plus 10%. Hanging in there, and definitely going to keep holding on to this guy, Warren Buffett at the helm. I believe they have over $100 billion in cash that they can use. Might be a little more, but a lot of potential good things they could do with that. So moving on to Apple, who actually just reported earnings today, and they did, they smashed their revenue targets. They raised their guidance. iPhone sales are down, but they've seen tremendous double-digit growth from their wearables category as well as their services category. So a lot of good stuff happening with Apple. So that's kind of a big bump that you guys saw earlier. Up $10 after hours. So hold on to 10 shares, second biggest in my portfolio. So nice to see them come back. Always good to see a stock that you hold long term, kind of come back from its lows and back to its highs, and kind of reaffirms that you're doing the right thing by holding onto good quality blue chip companies like this. So glad I'm having Apple, and hope to see them hit their previous all-time highs sometime within the next couple of weeks, especially if we get good news on a potential cut tomorrow. So we'll see what happens with Apple, but long-term hold for me as well. I'm glad it's my second biggest in this portfolio. Moving on, Take-Two Interactive also really has done really good for me, up over 23%. As you guys may have recall, a couple months ago, I purchased this when it was hovering around $100. So during that time, I kind of knew, okay, it hasn't hit that point. Did a little technical analysis on it. It hasn't hit that point since, I believe like almost 2 years prior. So yeah, thought it was a great stock for the long term. GTA 6 will be coming out soon, probably if not next year, then the year after. I feel like they don't have that negative stigma around them like EA and Activision have had recently with, where their games haven't been as successful, or, they're just, focusing on those loot packages and just bad PR overall. But I feel like Take-Two has not had that. Doesn't pay a dividend, 41 PE. Loving this stock so far. I wish I bought more, but that's the way it is. So glad I bought it at the nice average cost there as well. So finally, my last stock, Zoetis, so also has done really well. I know they nailed their last earnings, and big part of my portfolio now going forward. So 10%, doing really well. Pet health, people continue to spend money on their pets, whether it's medical supplies or clothes, food, whatever it may be, medicine. Zoetis is definitely at the forefront of that. So that's kind of it. Rearranging my watch list a little bit just so it's easier to read. Added a couple new indexes. SOX, which is basically like iShares Semiconductor ETF, a couple other ETFs, trying to group them a little more similarly. But overall, great earnings last couple weeks from companies, and look for them to continue to bring out good news and continue to bring this market up. The S&P 500 did touch 3,000, I believe, 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been kind of hovering around this point for a little bit in the last couple weeks to a month. So waiting on some good news. Obviously the Dow and the NASDAQ are up at near their all-time highs as well. We're crushing them. So good things happening. We'll see what happens next. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for hopefully more videos. Thanks. Bye.